Hello friends, and welcome to this crochet tutorial where I'm going to show you how to make this rose handbag or purse. It is a 3D rose with many colors that we're going to use, starting from the center, working our way out. Your color choice can be, if many, we use 4 colors in the process of making the flower and the green for the outside. It is beginner friendly with basic knowledge, so you can make this as well as the advanced crocheter can. So come join me in the making of this 3D rose handbag together. But before we begin, I'd like to show you some of the other color options that I have made in making of these 3D rose bags. This one started out with a pale yellow and then a darker yellow on the top, working out to a gold and a coral or a peach color. I know the camera is going to show what colors it wants to show, but to be honest with you, the colors on this is really nice. The green that I used is called Spring Green. All of these are by Red Heart Super Saver. The other one that I have made is a bigger bag, starting off with a white in the center and placing pink on the top, going to a different shade of pink to a darker and to the darkest shade. With that darkest shade, I chose a darker green with larger leaves on the side as the accent. If you want to make this particular size in the making of the bag, we stop at 4 rows. All you have to do is add 1 more row, and on the 6th row of adding 6 increase, you'll see it in the pattern, you'll do as what we did in row 5. So I hope you get inspired by these colors as well. Let's begin our tutorial. The materials and the tools we're going to need to make this 3D rose purse. We have 4 colors here. To give it the dimensional look, we're going to do a form of color blending, which is easy enough, for the beginner as well. So I have red, I have a pink, kind of like a bright pink, and this is a muted pink, and then I have a yellow in the back. And I also have green. The green will be the back, as well as the strap and the leaves. The hook size that we'll be using is a 5.0 millimeter. Pair of scissors and a tapestry needle. To make the lining, you're going to want some sewing needles and some pins, some thread. Here's what is called a purse snap. It's magnetic, so it'll help it to stay closed, and some fabric for the lining. Approximately 12 inches square should do. You'll need 2 pieces. Now in the making of this bag, you'll notice that I already have mine doubled up. This is worsted weight yarn from Red Heart Super Saver. Because of the way that the bag is constructed, you want it to have a solid feel. If we were to use 1 strand, it would be kind of floppy and loose. So we're going to use 2 strands to make it more solid. To make these balls, what you want to do with your skein of yarn, you want to take off the band, and then you find the outside wrap, and then the one that comes from the center pull. You want to take the 2 and join them together and start wrapping them around until you have a good amount needed to make this. Now you can do it as you go along, but I suggest putting it into a ball. It would be easier. For the yellow, we're not going to use the whole thing, so a good amount, about half the size of this ball, would be good. Now this ball took a full skein. This one I did a full skein. The only one that's really going to use a lot is the red. So once you start making a ball, that way you know that you won't have any tension issues and you can pull it. Go ahead and just start winding it up and forming a ball until you get one that's probably about the size of a softball. So go ahead and do that with all of your yarns, or like I said, you can do it as you go along. Now I know you took a little bit of time winding those yarn into balls if that's what you did, but to be honest with you, it'll be well worth it in the long run. I decided to do the whole skein because I plan on making more of these, and I think you're going to enjoy making these bags as well. At first, I will confess, it seemed a little tricky, a little odd, but once I got the hang of it, I was like, I love this. So we're going to start off here with a magic circle. So let's go ahead. Okay. Now, even though I show you step by step how to do this, if you're a beginner, I'm sure that you can handle this. But for the intermediates and advances, you will do just fine. So let's start off with a chain of 2. This does not count as a stitch as we go throughout the process of making this whole bag. So we're going to be doing double crochets. So yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over through 2 loops on the hook, yarn over through the last 2. In the beginning of this, we're going to make 12 double crochets into our magic ring. Please continue until you have 12. So once we have the 12 double crochets, let's go ahead and pull our magic circle closed. Do not cut this. We're going to weave it in just a few minutes. Okay? Now at the end of every row, you want to go to the top of the double crochet, not the chain stitch, the top of the double crochet, and slip stitch to close that row off. To begin the next row, we're going to chain 2, we're going to be using the back loops, but also that little, see that little hump in the back loop? So we're going to pick up the back loop and this little hump. Adding the rose petals will stretch the front loop. Going through the back loop and this little, I call it a hump, part of the stitch will help the front loop not stretch out so much when the rose is being installed. Okay, so let's go ahead and yarn over and pick up the back loop and that little hump, draw up a loop, and complete your double crochet as you normally would. Okay, and this is in the same stitch that we did the slip stitch on. So this is the first double crochet. So we did the slip stitch, chain 2, the first double crochet. Now this row will be all increases. So at the end of this row, we'll have 24 stitches. So into the same stitch, including that little hump in the back, we do our second double crochet. On to our next one. Remember to pick up that little loop in the back, or that little hump, on every one of these rows. And do an increase, so 2 double crochets. We want our front loop exposed as we go around. So in each one of these stitches around, place 2 double crochets, making sure to pick up the back loop. Okay, do that all the way around. I'll meet you at the end of the row. Don't forget to slip stitch into the first double crochet and chain 2. But if you don't, I'll remind you when we get to that point again. Please pause your video. So at the end of the row, slip stitch into the first double crochet and chain 2. Starting this next row, we're going to be increasing. So we'll start off with 1 double crochet and then an increase. That'll be our repeat for this row. Remember to go under that back bump on all of these rows. Okay, so we start off with 1 and then increase. 1 single crochet and increase. And continue around to the end of the row. All right, and for this row, the repeat will be 1 single, 1 single, and increase. So 1, 1, increase. Sometimes it's hard to see when you're looking through the camera because you got a camera in front of your face. Alrighty, so here we go, increase. Alright, this is our repeat around. 1, 1, increase. All the way around. Please pause your video. And slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet and chain 2. And in this row, we're going to do the increase again. 1, 2, 3, and increase. So single, 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 and 2 double crochets in one space. Two, 3. Remember to keep picking up that hump as long as we have the front loops. I think we have one more row of this to do, which will be 4. But for this row, let's focus on this one, and we'll get 3 singles and an increase. So all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end. So at the end of this row, don't slip stitch just yet. Take your yarn and cut it about 6 inches from the end. Let's go ahead and pull out our green yarn. Insert the hook into the first double crochet of the row. Wrap your yarn around the hook and pull it through and complete the slip stitch. Okay, chain 2, And in this row, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this row, we're going to go through both of the loops, but we're going to do 4. So as we go through the first one, pick up your tails. We're going to lock them down by crocheting over the top of them. So here's 1, 2, I'm going over my tails as well. 3 and 4. And then into our next stitch, we'll do an increase. And going over the tails, you know, you want to take your time with that so we can lock them in. So here's our increase. Now, what I like to do after I've changed my colors, go ahead and take it and snug it up just a little bit, and what that'll do is that'll bring this closer and close it off. Okay, and then we can do the same to the yellow, and it looks a lot neater, although we're not really going to be seeing this because the rows will be over the top of this. We can go ahead and cut our yarn. So for the rest of this row, 1, 2, 3, 4, increase all the way around. Please pause your video. This is what we have so far. So this next row will be the last row that we're going to do. Remember to slip stitch and chain 2. So we're going to start off with our double crochet. We're going to go through both the loops, not the front loop. We'll do 5 single double crochets and then the increase on the 6th stitch. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. An increase into the 6th stitch. Okay, we're going to do this not all the way around. We need you to count over 20 stitches. Now this one right here is our slip stitch, so we're going to start with the next stitch. So if you count over 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Either you can place a stitch marker but what we're going to do is the 5 singles and then the increase all the way up to this point. If my count is off, you should end with the increase as your last stitch. So I think I'm right on the count. So let's go ahead and do 5 and an increase all the way around, remembering to end as an increase in the last stitch. Please pause your video. Okay, so I was off a couple of stitches. I believe there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There's 18 stitches here, not 20. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut about a 6-inch tail, and we're going to finish this off. Okay, so this is our front panel, but before we move on, let's go ahead and finish up our magic circle, because if you cut it, it's going to fall apart. So let's go through the stitching again. This will help reinforce it so that hopefully it never breaks on you. Okay, so I went around once. I think it'll be good enough, especially since the yarn is doubled. Now let's go ahead and tie a knot. Remember, this will be on the inside of the bag, so you really won't see it. Okay, and I like to bury my stitches in my work here. Alright, so this is our back side, and this will be our front side. What we're going to do, we're going to make a green one doing the same thing, except we'll go through both loops, not the front, leaving the front exposed. Going through both loops like we did up here on this row. I'm going to go ahead and place what you're supposed to do for the stitches, so that way you don't have to listen to me talk again about what to do. But really quick, 12 double crochet, increase on your next row, 1 increase, 2 increase, 3 increase, 4 increase, 5 increase, leaving 18 stitches and ending with the double. Okay, I'll have that for you on the page, or in this part of the video for our green one. And so the next one you'll see is the back panel in green. So this is our front panel, and I'll show you the back panel in green. So please pause your video. It will take you a few minutes to put it together, and then we will move on to adding our rows. Now that we have the front and the back, let me show, here's the back completed, we're going to start adding our rows to give that dimension to the front of the bag. So what I'd like for you to do is, if you're choosing to use the same colors as me, we're going to start off with, this is a pale yellow and this is a pink color. So if you have those two ready, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to bring the camera up close, and we're going to start working on the inner circle, the very center right here on the front loops. So we're going to start with the yellow, and then we're going to move up to the pink. At the beginning of every petal that we have a color change, I'd like for you to have at least 6 inches of yarn so that we can tie it in on the back of our panel here. So let's start off by placing a slip knot in our hook. Okay, and you can pick any one of the front loop. It really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to pick up one right here, and we're going to start off with a slip knot. So just bring it right through both of those loops and pull your tail if that'll help tighten that slip knot stitch. Okay, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so into this first loop right here, we're going to place 3 double crochets. Okay. This next one here is our slip stitch, so we're going to skip this. So if you're not at that point, just skip where the chain and the slip stitch was. So we're going to go into the next front loop and place 3 double crochets in that as well. Can you see how the front loop's being stretched? That's the reason why we were going through the back loop and that other loop, to kind of help hold it down. Okay, so we have 2 sets of 3. Okay, so let's go to our next row. We're going to chain 2 and turn your work. Now in each one of these loops, we're going to place 2 double crochets, so that we'll have a total of 12 double crochets along this row. I'm going to go ahead and get you started, and then I will meet you at the end of the row. So we'll do an increase in each stitch across. Please pause your video. So at the end of the 12, I'd like for you to have a 6-inch tail and cut your yarn. Okay, so right here we still have the right side of the row facing us. So we're going to come down here, and we see that that has the last set of 3 double crochet on this front loop only. So we're going to count over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in that 5th one, I'd like for you to do a slip stitch into that front loop. Pull it tight. Okay, and then what we're going to do is grab our pink and have a 6-inch tail on it as well, and pull it through that slip stitch loop right there. Okay, and we're going to pull that tight and then chain 1. Okay, it's going to seem like a bunch of crazy going on right here, but we're only going to do this a couple of rows. I mean, just for the center piece right here, and this is what helps give that extra color and oomph in the center. Okay, but let's go ahead and enlarge this loop just a little bit, and then we're going to take the tails and go through 2 separate sections of where this last row is. So here I'm going to pull the pink one through one set to the back, and then take the yellow and go through a different area here on the back. Now remember, all of this will be covered as the petals increase. Okay, now have any of you done the reverse single crochet, also known as the crab stitch? Okay, it's not hard. Let me bring the camera up a little bit closer so that way I can show you how to do this. Okay, so we're just going to take our loop, hold it on there, take the hook. Now the first one's usually going to be the most difficult, but go ahead and place it in that first one. Okay, and then draw up a loop. Now your loop is going to be on the left hand side of the loops that we had before. This is on the reverse. So this is the loops that was on the hook. This is the loops that we just pulled up. Okay, and yarn over and through both of those loops that are on the hook. You see how it kind of goes in an opposite direction? Now on to the next one. Here's the loop on the hook. Go through, pull up a loop. Okay, so the loop we just pulled up is right here on the left side. Can you see when I pull it? You can see it tighten right here. Then yarn over and through those 2 loops on the hook. Okay, we're going to do this a total of 12 times. I think you're going to find that once you get the hang of it, it's really not that hard. Just make sure that that loop, for us right-handers, if you're left-handed, then it's going to be on the other side. But for us right-handers, the loop that we pulled up is going to be on the left side of the loop that was already on the hook. It gives it a nice frilly look. Okay, and you see, once you get the hang of it, it's really not that difficult. So we're going to go all the way across till we hit that last double crochet. I got 2 left here. Okay. So what I'd like for you to do now is turn your work. Okay, so here's, this one has the 3 double crochets in there, so we're going to count over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That one's going to be one before. There's going to be one separated. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're going to come over here to this 5th one. See, we'll have just that one that's not going to have anything on it. And we're going to do a slip knot. Snug it up. Cut your 6-inch tail. And then pull it through to finish it off. Okay, so if you look at it, we have a nice little beginning of a semicircle here. And we're going to take this tail and go through to the back. So find a different hole than the ones that the other ones were in. So we're going to come into this one here and pull it through. All of these tails will be tied down, but let's get the first set in here first. Okay, now the one that we just finished, where we put the slip knot on it, which is this one right here, and you have one that has nothing. Okay, we're going to start on this one, so let's grab our yellow and we're going to place a slip knot on here and add 3 double crochet. So starting off with our 6-inch tail, let's place a slip knot on our hook, and slip stitch into the same front loop only that we did the pink slip stitch. Okay, and then tighten that slip knot up, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then 3 double crochet in the same front loop only. Okay, and that one that we didn't have anything on, let's go ahead and place 3 double crochet in that one. Now you can go over these tails if you'd like, but we just need the front loop only. Okay, now the next front loop only is the one that has the slip stitch. Okay, oh wait a second, I have so many tails going down here. Okay, well in the next one we want to add 3 single crochet right here. So we'll go into the next one and do 3 single crochet. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, do you remember what we did before? Okay, we chained 2 to move up and turn our work. Now since there's 3 sets of 3, that means we're going to increase 18. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18. Okay, so I don't bore you. Let's go ahead and place 2 double crochet in each one of these stitches across. And I'll meet you at the end of this row. Okay, so I did the 18, and like we did on the first one, we're going to go ahead and cut with a 6-inch tail. And we're going to take this tail and go down in. So I took my tail and went down into the back. Now, if you remember the last time we did the doubles, we went and counted 5 over and slip stitch. Well, the nice thing about counting all these 5s over, the 5 is always that has the 3 double crochets on it. So go ahead and slip stitch into that. Okay, and we're going to do our color change again. So let's pull up our pink. Now this is the only 2 petals that has this color change like this. The rest of them are all one solid color. So don't think, oh, I'm going to have to do this the whole time, I'm not interested. No, don't think that way. This is only for the center one. It gives it a dimensional look that really looks nice. Okay, so let's pull the new color through. We're going to tighten down on that slip knot, and then we're going to chain 1. Okay, and so we'll tighten up everything here in just a minute. So now we're going to do the reverse single crochet over all the 18 double crochets from the previous row here. So here's 1. I'm just going to do that reverse single crochet. Okay, go ahead and finish that till you get to the end of the row, and if you beat me to it, you want to go ahead and slip stitch into, you're going to skip the 5 and slip stitch to where these 3 are on that front loop there. But I'll show you anyway, in case you beat me to it. So go ahead and do the reverse single crochet, and then I'll meet you there. Okay, so I'm at the end of the row. We're going to come over. Okay, here's the end. 1, 2, 3. Well, we had 4, so let's go ahead and slip stitch anyway to the front of this with the 3 double crochet on it. I'm going to slip stitch right into that. Leave a 6-inch tail and go ahead and cut it, and then take all your tails and go to the back. And then I'm going to show you what we're going to do with our tails in the back. So with the different colors coming through different parts, we can go ahead and tie them into square knots. We're going to be adding a lining, so this will cover all of these loose ends here. So after we tie these into a knot, make sure that you got all the slack out from the front. You can just pull on it and it'll tighten it right up. We're going to cut these with a 1-inch tail also. So just cut them with a short tail. You don't want to cut it too close to the square knot in case it comes untied. Okay, so let's go back to our front. We're going to shape it a little bit. So this is the beginning. We can shape it any way we like, or we can just let it fall into place. But you ready to start the second row? We're going to be going on to this next row using the same color pink that we did on the top of the yellow. So for this next row, it's going to be the same that we're going to do for this row and this row. The only difference is the color. What we did right here with the 3 in the front loops of the 3, and then count over to the 5th, and then do your slip knot to, to stretch that petal over, is what we're going to be doing here as well. So since you had a taste with the center, let's go ahead and start with this next row. So knowing that the center is going to be the solid point, I usually like to start the next where there's the overlap right here. So I'm going to pick up and do a slip stitch. Now for this row, we're only going to have 2 tails, and that'll be the beginning and the end. Okay, so let's start off here with a chain of 3 and into the same front loop 3 double crochet. I'm going to go ahead and put my ball in the basket that I have below me. Seems to be easier to have it in the floor than it is on the table. Okay, so in the next loop, 3 double crochets. And into the third front loop, 3 single crochets. Okay, chain 2 and turn your work. Increase 18 double crochets. So 2 double crochets in every stitch across. I'll meet you at the end of the row. So we want to count over 5 front loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to do our slip stitch. Whoops. Make sure that's in the right spot. And then do our slip stitch. Okay, and then tighten it up. And then chain 1. Okay, so we're going to start our reverse single crochet. Like I said, that first one's always the tough one. So do you like my colors so far? I think they look pretty. I don't know if the camera is really showing, but this is a pale yellow with a kind of like a pink. It looks nice. So reverse single crochet all the way across, and I'll meet you there. Okay, so my reverse single crochet to the end, then you want to twist it in front of you again. Okay, so here's the last one. So count over the 5. 1, 2, we're going to skip that one. 3, 4, and 5, and slip stitch. Whoops, I hope I wasn't out of camera range. Snug it up, and then immediately we're going to start our next petal. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, do you know what comes next? Yep, 3 double crochets in the next 3 front loops. Well, I should say 3 double crochets each of the next 3 front loops. So here's 1. There's the second one, and here's the third one. Okay, chain 2. Let's turn our work. 18 double crochets, so increase each stitch across, and I'll meet you there, and I'll show you how to hook it up behind this petal here. So we did the 18. Okay, now if we come across here, we're going to slip stitch into the one with the 3. I keep putting it in on the wrong side, don't I? Okay, so let's pull up a loop and slip stitch. Okay, snug it up. You don't want it loose. Okay, then chain 1 and the reverse single crochet. Are you getting into the rhythm of it now? You see how it's going to work? Doing the 3 double crochets and then chain 2 and turn and increase and then do the 18, slide over 5. If it's the first one, if it's the second petal, just go right where the 3 started. Slip stitch, chain 1, reverse single crochet, count over 5. Oh, but wait, if we have all of them filled up and we're on our last one, same thing we would do normally. We would just turn our work and slide that petal back as if it wasn't there, and then place our slip stitch in it. If it's the last one, finish it off. You'll notice that on this row we're going to have 3 petals. The next 2 rows, I believe the 3rd row has 5 and the 4th one has 7. But since we're going to be doing basically the same thing, everyone has 5 front loops that we want to be separated by. You'll find that doing this is very simple. It's just a matter of color. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row, so let's flip that back. Count over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and here's our 5th one. All right, do you remember what we're supposed to do again? Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 3 double crochets in each of the next 3 front loops. So I'm going to let you go ahead and see if you memorized it. And I'm going to meet you where we need to finish it off. Okay? Now, I'm gonna give you a heads up here. This is going to be a short one, but it'll still tie in over here. Oops. Over here. Okay? So go ahead and do the 3 on the 3 front loops. Chain 2, 18, slip stitch, reverse single crochet, and I'll be here to help you finish this row. So how did you do? Did you feel confident to do this petal by yourself? Okay. So we're going to overlap like this. You want the petal facing away from you, basically on the panel itself. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to slip stitch into that one that has the first 3 double crochets. Okay, and snug it up. And then since we're going to be changing colors, 6-inch tail, let's pull it through the loop. Okay, and then we're going to take it to the back. So bring your hook. Don't go in the same hole, go in the hole next to it. We can pull that tail through the back here. And tie it off. Now, even though you'll notice that there was about 3 or 4 front loops, it's okay if it didn't have 5. It's not going to break it. Okay. So as we put the other colors in, this will be more coming up. Okay, also don't forget we want to shape this. Once we're done fiddling with it, it'll stay in place. But you see how nice the colors are? How sometimes in roses you can see the yellow, and then as each petal comes out, it bursts out in more color. That's what I like about it. Okay, so the next color I'm going to use is a darker pink. So, do you think you can go with me just giving you instruction? Now this has 3 petals on the row we just completed, so this next one will have 5 petals. And then the last one will have 7. If I write out the instructions on there, I'm thinking that you can handle this on your own. Just remember, on that very last one, take that last petal and come in the front and slip stitch it, and that way it'll look like you don't know where the beginning or the end is. Okay, so let's go ahead and place a 6-inch tail with a slip knot on our hook. And what I like to do is come over here where it overlaps. I'm going to come over 3. Remember, don't count the chain spacing because that didn't count. So jump over this. You know, don't count that one, go to the next one. Or you can count it, whatever you'd like to do. So let's go ahead and start with our slip knot. And then tighten this up. Chain 3. And all the petals are the same again. 3 double crochet, 3 double crochet, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 18, count over 5, slip stitch, chain 1, reverse single crochet, 18, count over 5, slip stitch, chain 3, and it begins all over again. Go ahead and do this row, and then the last row that I'll be using is red. Go ahead and do those 2 rows, and I'll see you in just a minute. All right, so this is the red row, which is the last row. And the reason why I'm showing you this is that as we've progressed, we have 5 stitches that we want to hook up to as we go along. Now you'll notice here that our 5th stitch is going to be 2 from this one right here. Okay? So after you complete this and you tie here and chain 3, this is actually your 7th petal, I guess you could call them, that you will tie in. When I get closer to that point, I'm going to show you how to do this. But I wanted to show you this before I wanted to show this to you before we got to the very last petal. I know my camera angle ain't giving justice to the look of this, but to me it's really pretty. We got a little bit of green on the side, but what I'm here to show you now is what I had pointed out before I finished this petal, is this area right here. And this will be for our 7th petal. So let me bring my camera in closer so we can get a better look at this. All right, so I finished the 6th petal, and I want you to see we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals here. I finished my reverse single crochet, so I want to count over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we should have 1 left over, and then where we tied in for this one over here. So let's go ahead and hit that 5th one, okay, because we got this one that needs to be left alone. And we're going to slip stitch. Oops, I have my yarn on the wrong side again. And then chain 3. And this is just like the beginning of any other petal that we've done throughout this whole process. So in here, 3 double crochet. Now, take note that my camera is really close to my work, and I'm trying to keep it centered. Okay, so here we got, this one will get 3, and then this one will get 3. And what we'll do on this last one here, we want to slide everything to the left so that the 3 double crochets can go right there. So 3 double crochets here. Okay, and 3 in the last one right here. All right, and then chain 2. Make sure I got 3. Yeah, so we should have 9 across here. Turn your work. Okay, do the doubles, you know, the increase, and then pick up like you would right here, slip stitch it, reverse single crochet, and then I'm going to show you how to finish this row. Please pause your video. Okay, so I completed my reverse single crochet, and it's just like we did before. We want to take the petal and move it to the back, and then slip stitch into the same place we started. So here's our tail. We're gonna slip stitch here. Okay, cut a 6-inch tail. Pull it tight, and then take the tail and go to the back. Okay, and then we can tie off our tail. Now the nice thing about this rose pattern is that it doesn't have to be just a purse. You can put it on top of a box. You can place it in many places, just where you want to add beauty. And another thing too about the rose is on the petals, if you wanted to do some color blending, you can just take and change the colors, you know. Each row here could be a different color that would give you more of a realistic petal look. It's more work, but now that you have the idea of how the petal actually looks, it gives it more of a realistic. Or you can come in here and do like veins. Just use one strand. You could personalize it if you would like. Anyway, so let me enlarge the camera. For many of you who do follow me, I use a GoPro, which does not allow me to focus or go depth while I'm recording. So just a second here. So after we're done with the petals here, you want to take the green and kind of stretch it just a little bit. And this will help make these stitches that we've pulled on relax a little. And I'm going to tell you why now. You're going to think, oh no, it's not going to fit, but it will. Our green backing is going to be larger than the front because of all the pulling. So if you pull this out, now don't pull it so hard that it's gonna really distort it and mess it up. You don't want to do that. But because we did the same amount of stitches, everything here will fall into place when we join it. Okay, so I hope you're admiring your work, your colors. I would love to see the color choices that you have made. You'll notice that at the beginning of the video I had the other purses that I have made. One of them is already sold. I hate to let my stuff go, but I know if somebody else will enjoy it, they can have it, you know. Anyway, so let's get our green, and what we're going to do next is we're going to be joining the sides all the way around, and after that we just have a few more crochet things. Also too, the liner that we're going to be placing in it is optional. These won't come untied if you did a really good tight square knot, but it just is nicer if you don't have ravelly edges on the inside of your purse. So we'll you don't have to put the liner in, but I'm going to show you how to do it anyway. So let's get our green ready so that we can go ahead and start here on the sides, and then the straps, the leaves, and then the liner. Now before we move on to crocheting, we want to take the tails that we have on the end and we want to weave them in. So let's place it on our tapestry needle here. We're going to come down here to the bottom of that first row stitch. So we're down where there's doubled. We're going to bring your needle through, come over probably about 6 stitches. I like weaving in my ends. I don't like just leaving it open. Okay, stretch it back just a little bit for any kind of work that might or use of the purse in the future that might cause it to pull over. So once we come out here, you want to go over that last stitch, because if you go back through the same hole, it's not going to hold. So go over and then weave back. You don't want to pull it tight, you just want to pull it so that it's snug. Okay, let's go ahead and cut that. Okay, so we have, this is the wrong side facing up, the right side is facing down. And we're going to place the two shapes together like so. But I'm right-handed, so we're going to start over here on the left-hand side, and we're going to go around. Now every stitch, the top of these stitch, so here's the top of the chain, here's the top of the stitch. We're going to come back over here. Okay, so here's the stitch. We're going to join every stitch. Now it may seem like it's not going to line up, but every stitch will line up all the way around to the other side because we have the same amount of stitches. So with our green, like before, we always want to start off with at least a 6-inch tail so that way we can weave it in and have a proper amount. Let's place a slip knot on our hook. Okay, we're going to go through the first stitch, at the top of the first stitch, through both on the top, and then here's that last stitch, and this is the finish off point, so we're going to go through right there, and we're going to complete a single crochet. And we're going to single crochet all the way around, making sure that you don't skip a stitch, but also making sure that you do not place 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So take your time and go slowly. All right, and don't make your stitches too tight, but just make them the same size as the hook and the same size that we have, and this will join the front and the back panel together. Okay, don't worry about the tail. We'll weave that in later. Go ahead and go all the way around. When you get here to the end, I'll meet you there. So at the end, we're going to do our basic 6-inch tail, cut it off, and pull it through. Then we're going to take the ends, and we're going to do the same thing that we did with the green background the first time I showed you. Just going to go through and come down a few stitches. Make sure you have a nice finish here. And then go over one and come back up. And this will hold this tail in place. Okay, and do the same thing to the other side, and we'll get started on our strap. So do you like it so far? Okay, so for our strap, now this is also going to depend on how long you want it, but we're going to use 4 strands of yarn to make the strap. If we use 2, it's going to come out really thin, and unless you want it thin, that's fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a good amount of green here, and I'm going to wind it back up into a ball to where I'll have a total of 4 strands. Okay, so I'm pretty much going to take what's left and go half on it and go from there. So I'm going to encourage you to do that as well. If you want a thinner strap, just the 2 strands, just hold off a second and we'll start making the strap. So please pause your video if you're going to go ahead and do the 4 strands. If you're just going to do the 2, we'll keep right on going. To begin, we're going to start off with about a 10 to 12 inch tail so that we can use it to sew the strap down with. Place a slip knot on your hook. Make sure you have all the strands, and don't make it tight. Let's chain 2. Back to our first chain, 1 single crochet, and then turn your work into this loop right here on the side. Make sure you pick up all 4 strands, and we're going to do a slip stitch. Let's turn our work. Now this time you'll see 2. This is where our repeat begins. Now at first it's going to seem like it's not the right size, but let's start working on a little bit and you'll see what we're going to have. So go through the 2 loops, draw up a loop, and through both loops on your hook. Turn your work. See the 2 loops again? 1 and 2. Go under all those loops. Draw up a loop onto your hook. Yarn over and through both the loops on your hook. You can kind of see the pattern start to take place now. Let's turn our work. We have our both loops. Go under both of those loops. Draw up a loop, pull it through both of those loops. Yarn over through both loops on the hook. We're going to make this as long as you would like. You can make it shoulder strap. You can make it a short arm length. But you're going to find this is a nice size strap for the size handbag that we're working. Okay, I'm going to encourage you to keep going until you get to the length that you would like. Okay, let me show you something here. Right from my first bag, you'll see that I have a very short handle here. Okay, this one's probably about 10-12 inches long. Let's see what we got here. So this first strap is about 14 to 15 inches long. This is good for just holding over your forearm. And here to remind you of the colors that I used from the beginning of the video. And then the leaves. So continue with the length of strap that you would like to have. If you want a crossbody, you would lay the bag where you would want it to be on your body, and then take a string, go over your shoulders, and at each end of the bag. So continue with the strap, and then we'll determine how to sew it onto our bag. So I did the length that I wanted to do. This one's a little bit longer than the one I showed you from the bag I had. It's probably about 20 inches instead of 14. But to finish it off, we want to make sure we have a long enough tail. And then after you've completed that last single crochet, just pull it through to finish it off. Okay, then we'll go ahead and take all 4 of these and place it on our needle. Now I do it this way because it makes for a cleaner application to the needle hole. But if you do one strand at a time, you could fray the ends. You see how they come through nicely? So we'll take the one end, bring it to the inside. Right there in the center. You want to bring it down about an inch. So start with catching a few stitches here at the bottom. Now, yes, it will be a little tighter with the 4 strands going through, but it'll be okay. Make sure all strands are smooth. Then what we're going to do is come up here and we're going to go through to the other side, and we're going to go around this a couple of times. Make sure it's centered. Now you can go through and then come down, so that way you don't block off that single crochet stitch. Come around again. Try and go into the same holes. And go under the single crochet. Come through to the other side. Make sure it's snug. And then we can come down to the bottom of the strap. And use the strap as the finish off point. So we're going to take it through, create a loop, pull the needle through the loop and tighten it. Do that twice. And then when we cut it, we'll leave it with a 1-inch tail. This will be hidden inside with the liner. Now when you do the other side, make sure that the strap is straight, that there's no twists in it, and then go ahead and sew the other end down. So it looks pretty nice, doesn't it? Alright, let's start the leaf accent that we have hanging off the side. We're only going to use the 2 strands of yarn, and this will not take very long, and it makes a really nice touch to the handbag to have its little leaves on the side. So to begin our leaf, we're going to start with a short tail, maybe 4 inches. Let's place a slip knot into our hook. And let's start with a chain of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Alright, so on the first one, we're going to skip the first one. So in the next one, we'll start off with a single crochet. In the next one, half double crochet. The next one, a double crochet. Okay, and then we're going to do 2 treble crochets. Trebles you wrap twice. Or did I count wrong? We need 3, right? Okay, so 1, 2, and 3. There we go. All right, let me count. Let's see what we got here. Single, half, double. Okay, so 1 more treble. Okay, seems like our leaf is kind of curling up a little bit, which is normal. Okay, so a double crochet. A half double crochet. And a single crochet. There we covered all the stitches from single to treble. So this is half. We're going to crochet over the tail, coming down the other side of the chain. But before we do that, let's chain 2 single crochet into the same space as the last single crochet. Well, wait a second. Let's make it better on ourselves. You have the knot here. The single crochet is going to go on the other side of that knot. That'll make it so you can see that chain stitch a little bit better. Okay, then now we're going to be going over it, our tail as well. So the next one is a half double crochet, a double crochet, we're going to do 3 treble crochets, okay, I made a mistake here. I only picked up 1 strand there. Okay. So here's our first treble since I made a mistake. Yes, I do make bloopers and sometimes I leave them in there. Here's our second treble. And here's our third treble. Oops. Okay, so let's stop for just a second. Take this and stretch it just a little bit. And then let's cut off that tail. Get it out of our way. Double crochet into the next stitch. Half double crochet. And single crochet. Now to get it to the center, we're going to slip stitch right up here into that chain that we skipped. So slip stitch right there. Stretch it out just a little bit because anytime we start crochet, sometimes it does curl up. So here's 1 leaf. Now we're going to chain 25. 1, 2, 3. Continue with the chain until you have 25 chains. So after we have 25 chains, we're going to skip the first one and we're going to do the leaf on the 10 stitches down. So we got single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, treble crochet 3 times, double crochet, half double crochet, single crochet. Okay, stretch this out a little. All right, now we're going to cross over to the other side. Make it a little easier, you can slip stitch into the next chain. And then the chains coming back down. So the first one will be a single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, 3 treble crochets. Whoops, I dropped a strand there. All right, double crochet, half double crochet, and single crochet. Okay, now we can chain 2 and then slip stitch into the top of the single crochet on the other side. So let's cut with a short tail. Finish this off. And then start working down the back of the stitches so that we can bury our tail. So I'm going through the centers of these stitches, going down. And if you don't want that one to come back out, go over one and come down a few stitches. Okay, so here we have our 2 leaves. So let's take our bag. You can place it on any side that you would like. I'm going to wrap it around and just tie an overhand knot. Bring it down, snug it up, and let our leaves fall. So we're going to do the lining next. If you chose to have woven in your ends and do not want a liner, that is fine. Your purse is complete. If you want a liner, let's move on to the next step. We're going to use the bag as the pattern because everybody's bag is of a different size. So I'm going to encourage you to place everything inside the bag. Let's see if we can make it as flat as possible. Place it on the fabric, allowing additional on the ends. Then we're going to take our scissors. These scissors, I don't know why they keep messing up the way they do. So let's try our other scissors. And we're going to cut it around the size of the bag. That way there's no way that we're going to cut our artwork and it's going to look the way it's supposed to. So go ahead and cut with about a 1 inch all the way around, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now with a pen, where our side openings are, let's go ahead and place a mark. Then place the right sides together. Whoops, let's transfer those marks to the other side, to the inside here. Let's place the right sides together. Now if you have a sewing machine, you want to go ahead and sew all the way around, starting and stopping right here. Okay, 1/2 inch to 5/8 seam allowance. Go ahead and sew all the way around. If you're going to hand sew like I am, you can line up your fabric and you can place some pins in there to make sure that it doesn't slide as you're sewing around. I'm going to use a running stitch, but I'm going to double my thread. If it's not enough thread as we go around, we can always add more. It does not need to be super long, because sometimes when it's really long, you can cause it to fray and then it won't hold up. And of course mine has to knot up while I'm on camera. Never fails, right? Okay, so when we first start here, just go do a little back stitch a couple of times to secure that area. And then to do a basic running stitch, you want your stitches to be small so that it won't fall through. And we're just going to go all the way around. Okay, I'll meet you at the end of the row. So the next thing we're going to do is find your opening area and then have that facing towards you, and then let's slide the liner into the bag. We want to go where our marks are. And line them up where they're supposed to be. Of course, this is going to be extending over the edge. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take and fold it under and just go below the stitching, right, or the crochet, that where you can see the top of those stitches. Just fold it under. Now, the way that we're doing it, if it seems like the liner is going to be a little too big, that's okay, because it'll all be pushed down at the bottom here. So go ahead and line this up here and pin it in place. I'm going to take these pins out because that's where it helped me to find my center better. So go ahead and fold those under and line the centers up to the center where the strap is. And then what you're going to do is basically stitch it all the way around. And then we'll be done with our bag. Okay, so the stitch that I'm going to use is just a basic whip stitch. You start underneath here. Oops, I forgot to put a knot in my thread. So you come up, and when you pick up part of the crochet, you don't want it to be seen in the front. So pick up some on the loops that are in the back and come around like this. Okay, so we went under, and then all you're going to see in the front is just these little tiny lines. So come down, go under. So all of that's inside the stitching of the crochet. So go ahead and do that all the way around. Make sure you have it all pinned. Go all the way around, and then we'll be finished with our bag. So I'll meet you there. Oh, wait a second. Before that, I'm going to show you how to sew on these, or how to apply these magnets too. Well, I made a mistake in the purchase. These are a clasp on where you got to put holes in the fabric. I don't want to do that because it could cause it to unravel. They do make sew-on magnetic snaps. It does have a thing on the back that tells you how to put it on. So if you can get the sew-on ones, I don't have them at the making of this video. So I'm going to end this with, I hope you enjoyed making this video. The little leaves in our rose bag. I hope you come back for another crochet tutorial, and I hope I have something that's of interest to you. So till next time, bye-bye.